You know, the feel of the 825 Pro really takes what the 800 Pro had to a whole nother level. Through our harmonic impact technology, we did a lot of dialing in on certain frequencies, especially the top line. The top line is something that always, it's tricky how it's going to vibrate, and that's something that can really affect the feel of a golf club, even though you think it wouldn't. So with the 825 Pro, we were really conscious of how that top line would vibrate, so we reinforced it, and then we went back and actually thinned it out by putting a bevel across the top. The great thing about the 825 Pro really is the look of it. From behind the ball at address, it's very clean, looks gorgeous, and from the back, it's a big cosmetic upgrade from the 800 Pro. It just looks solid, looks thick, it's got a lot of forgiveness built into it, and it's a club that I think is going to perform for a ton of people. One of the main changes we made on the 825 versus the 800 Pro technology-wise is we switched the type of milling we did. On the 800 Pro, we actually milled the back of the blade. What we did there was to try to increase the COR a little bit. We weren't really focusing too much on launch. With the 825 Pro, on the other hand, we went to a T-slot milling, which that's really helpful to take a lot of meat out low and allows us to make a little bit wider sole and push that center of gravity back and down. One of the first things you'll notice about this club is the top line, actually. If you hold it like this, you can see there's actually a 45-degree bevel across that top line. What that did is a couple things for us. It allowed us to beef up that top line in terms of actual measured thickness from the face, and that helps us have a more rigid top line, actually going to feel a little bit better. But at the same time, especially a pro level guy doesn't want an overly thick top line. So that 45-degree bevel on there makes it look very skinny at address. So you get the benefits of a thick top line, but the look of a thin top line. Right now I'm holding a 4/6 and a wedge of the 825 Pro. One of the cool things about it is how much this set flows from the long irons to the scoring irons. The 4-iron through the 7-iron actually have a milled pocket cavity. We went back, that actually gives us a little bit more weight to play with, low and deep, to help ease of launch. So 4 through 7-iron have that, and then when you get to the 8-9 wedge, they're very compact. That's something, especially compared to the 800 Pro, we made them even smaller, shorter from heel to toe, smaller head. There's no milled pocket cavity because you don't really need that aided launch in the short irons. So you'll see the flow throughout the set. Actually, the head length from the 4-iron down to the wedge shrinks a lot more than a normal set would. Yeah, what's nice at address on the 825 Pro is there's just a little bit of offset. The appearance of offset isn't as much as the 800 Pro even. It's a very clean look at address, and the top line looks really thin. It almost, you could fool a lot of people whether this is an MP or a JPX golf club by looking down at it. That's a good high ball flight. You know, compared to the 59 4-iron, which I bagged for a long time, this goes significantly higher. It's easier to launch, gets up, feel is very similar. Actually goes a little bit longer than it because the face is a bit thinner and the loft is a little bit stronger than the MP. But in terms of comparing it to something like the MPH4, it's actually very comparable in terms of forgiveness. You know, this actually doesn't quite launch it as high as the H4 because the center of gravity is not quite as deep, but because it's not as deep, it's actually going to be a little bit more workable with this one. I've got an 8-iron in my hand right now. The great thing with this one, because we went a little bit smaller on the head size, you're able to manipulate shots a lot more with it, a little bit more of a pro style approach to the design. So while typically a JPX golf club is going to launch high, with this one you're still able to hit little knockdown shots, and I'm going to hit a little punch draw right here. So it still has the feel, but you're able to, because of the smaller head size, you're able to get it to turn over, and the head doesn't really try to take over control where that ball is going to go. Yeah, the 825 Pro I wouldn't quite put in the hands of a beginner just yet, because it is a little bit more compact. It is a slightly demanding golf club, even though it's in the JPX range. With the 825, you're going to have all the added forgiveness you can get and even more ball speed. So with this, really, I wouldn't quite put it in a beginner's hand, but this is great for the player who's really interested in fine-tuning their game and working hard at it as almost a grow-in club, because there is forgiveness built in, but it can still benefit you as you lower your handicap. Every year when we launch new products, there's ones that we think are going to be our runners, that are going to be our best products for the year. And really the 825 Pro, we knew where we were headed with it, and we thought it was going to be just kind of a tweak of the 800 Pro. But really, once we got the final product and everything dialed in on it, we're actually really excited about this golf club and think it could be one of the best ones we've put out in a long time. My name's Chris Foschel, and I'm part of Mizuno's Golf Club engineering team.